Sarah Winters hadn't thought about Miller's Bend in 7 years, or rather, she'd trained herself not to. She'd built a life in Portland, a small apartment with plants she actually remembered to water, a job managing inventory for a medical supply company, a routine that felt safe precisely because it demanded nothing extraordinary from her. She was 34 now, and the woman she'd been at 27 felt like someone she'd read about in a book she'd never quite finished. But 3 days ago, an envelope had arrived. Cream-colored, expensive paper, inside a single-typed letter from a law firm she didn't recognize. Regarding the estate of Margaret Chen, your presence is requested. Margaret. The name alone made Sarah's hands shake as she held the letter. Margaret Chen, who had been more than her employer, who had been in those brief 18 months something close to family. The flight to Ashford was only 90 minutes, but Sarah felt herself traveling backward through time with every mile. She rented a car at the tiny regional airport and drove the winding road toward Miller's Bend, that cluster of houses and shops pressed against the Coldwater River like barnacles on a ship's hull. The autumn light came low and golden through the windshield, the same quality of light that had been falling the day everything collapsed. She hadn't planned to stop at the bridge. She was supposed to go straight to the lawyer's office in town, but when she saw the turn-off, her hands moved on the steering wheel as if controlled by muscle memory. The gravel crunched under her tires. She parked where the road ended and stepped out into the October afternoon. The bridge was still there, of course. An old iron truss bridge built in 1932 according to the plaque she'd read 100 times, painted rust red though the paint was flaking now, revealing the grey metal beneath. Below, the cold water rushed over smooth stones, the sound constant and indifferent. Sarah walked to the center of the span and gripped the railing, the metal cold against her palms. This was where she'd stood 7 years ago, right here, where she'd watched the police cars and the ambulance and the fire truck cluster on the far bank, where she'd watched them pull Margaret's car from the water, chrome and glass catching the emergency lights, the driver's side door crumpled like paper, where she'd understood, finally, that the accusation she'd been so sure was false, theft, embezzlement, breach of trust, had been believed by everyone who mattered. That Margaret, her champion, the woman who'd given her a chance when no one else would, was gone, and that somehow, impossibly, Sarah was to blame. She closed her eyes. Even now, the sequence of events felt surreal. The missing money from the non-profit Margaret had founded, an organization that provided elder care to low-income families in 3 counties. $47,000 vanished over 6 months. The way the bookkeeper had pointed to Sarah's digital signatures on the transfers, the way the board had looked at her, their faces transforming from warm to cold in the span of a single meeting. The way Margaret had said quietly, "I need some time to think," and left the office. The way she'd driven toward this bridge, in the rain, too fast. The official report said Margaret had swerved to avoid a deer, lost control. The car had gone through the wooden guardrail that used to be here. They'd replaced it with metal since then, and plunged 20 feet into the river. They said death had been quick. Sarah hoped that was true. In the days that followed, the investigation had intensified. Sarah's apartment was searched, her computer seized, every transaction scrutinized. And then, when they were on the verge of formal charges, someone else had been arrested. Marcus Tully, the non-profit's IT contractor. They'd found evidence that he'd created duplicate credentials, mirrored Sarah's access, moved the money to accounts that eventually traced back to him. The prosecutor had offered Sarah a formal apology. The board had offered her job back. But Margaret was still dead. And Sarah had seen in the days before the truth came out how quickly people had been willing to believe the worst of her. How quickly Sarah's so dedicated had become. Sarah always seemed a little too eager. She'd been vindicated, technically, But vindication, she'd learned, was just another flavor of loneliness. She'd left Miller's Bend without saying goodbye to anyone, started over in Portland, became someone who lived small, who didn't let people close enough to disappoint her. It was a half-life, but it was hers. Sarah opened her eyes and looked downstream, where the river bent out of sight behind a stand of yellow willows. Somewhere a crow called, harsh and insistent. She checked her watch. The lawyer's appointment was in 40 minutes. She should go. But something made her look back at the bridge itself, at the iron lattice, the rivets, the thick beams. Her gaze snagged on something she hadn't noticed at first. A small wooden box, weathered grey, tucked into the join where a crossbeam met the main support. It was wedged there deliberately, she realized, not debris caught by accident. You wouldn't see it unless you were standing exactly where she was, looking at exactly the right angle. Her heartbeat quickened. She glanced around. The road was empty, then leaned over the railing as far as she dared. The box was just within reach. Her fingers brushed it, closed around it, pulled it free. It was the size of a shoebox, lighter than she expected, made of cedar. There was no lock, just a simple metal clasp green with age. Sarah carried the box to the end of the bridge, where a flat boulder offered a place to sit. Her hands trembled as she opened it. Inside, a bundle of letters bound with twine, a small velvet pouch that clinked softly when she lifted it. Jewelry, maybe. A photograph in a plastic sleeve. And a flash drive labeled in Margaret's precise handwriting, for Sarah, when she's ready. The photograph was on top. Sarah slid it out and her breath caught. It was Margaret, maybe 10 years younger, standing on this same bridge with her arm around a teenage girl. The girl had Margaret's smile, the same widow's peak, the same sharp intelligence in her dark eyes. Sarah had never known Margaret had a daughter. In 18 months of working together, through long evenings processing grant applications and longer conversations about everything from local politics to the nature of goodness, Margaret had never mentioned her. Sarah untied the letters. The first was dated 17 years ago, addressed to "My dearest Lily." She read the opening lines. "I know you're angry. I know you think I chose the work over you, that I loved those strangers more than my own daughter. Maybe you're right. Maybe I've been so busy trying to save everyone else's family that I destroyed my own. But I need you to know that everything I built hoping you'd come back someday and see what I was trying to do. That I was trying to make the world gentler for people like your grandmother, who died alone in that state facility. I was trying to make it mean something." Sarah's throat tightened. She read the next letter and the next. They were all to Lily, written over years, never sent. They chronicled Margaret's regret, her hope for reconciliation, her pride in the work of the non-profit, even as she acknowledged it had cost her the person she loved most. The later letters grew shorter, more resigned. The last was dated 2 months before Margaret died. "I saw you yesterday. You were at the farmer's market with your son, my grandson, who I've never met. He's beautiful, Lily. He has your father's eyes. I almost came over, but I was afraid you'd leave. I'm always afraid you'll leave. So I just watched. I bought strawberries I didn't need and watched my daughter be happy without me. That has to be enough." Sarah's vision blurred. She set the letters aside and picked up the flash drive. For a moment, she just held it, feeling its weight. For Sarah, when she's ready. She wasn't sure she was ready, but she pulled out her phone, connected the drive through her adapter, and opened the single file. A video dated the day before Margaret died. Margaret's face filled the screen. She was in her office, the one with the window overlooking the river, late afternoon light painting everything amber. She looked tired but calm. "Sarah," she said, and Sarah had to press her hand to her mouth to keep from making a sound. "If you're watching this, I'm gone, and I'm so sorry for what you've been through. I should have protected you better. I should have caught Marcus sooner." I saw the signs, the discrepancies, the access logs that didn't quite make sense, but I wanted to believe the best of people. I always did. It was my greatest strength and my greatest failing. Margaret paused, looked off camera. But that's not why I'm recording this. I'm recording this because I need you to understand something. I need you to know that you weren't just an employee to me. You were what I hoped my daughter would be. Someone who gave a damn. Someone who showed up. Someone who understood that this work, caring for people everyone else forgot, it matters. She leaned forward slightly, her expression fierce. After I confronted Marcus yesterday, after I understood what he'd done and what it had cost you, I came here and I cried. Not for the money, for you, for the betrayal you experienced, for how alone you must have felt. And I realized I'd failed you the same way I failed Lily, by not telling you what you meant to me, by assuming you knew. Sarah was crying now, tears hot on her face, but she couldn't look away. So here it is, Sarah Winters. You are brilliant and good and brave. You are the daughter I stopped deserving, and everything I've built, the organization, the endowment I've been setting aside, the house, all of it, I'm leaving it to you. Not because you need it, though I hope it helps, but because I need you to carry this forward. I need someone who understands why it matters, someone who won't give up when it gets hard. Margaret smiled then, sad and genuine. I know you left, I don't blame you, but if you're watching this, you came back. That tells me everything. The lawyer will give you the details. The non-profit is yours if you want it. And if you don't, if you decide you're done with Miller's Bend and everyone in it, I understand that too. You don't owe me anything, but I owed you the truth. She reached toward the camera. Be happy, Sarah. That's all I ever wanted for... The video ended. Sarah sat on the boulder by the bridge, the phone in her lap, the box beside her, and cried the way she hadn't let herself cry in 7 years. Great, heaving sobs that hurt her ribs and made her nose run. She cried for Margaret, who died thinking she'd failed everyone she loved. She cried for Lily, who'd lost her mother to a mission she couldn't forgive. She cried for herself, for the years she'd spent running, for the way she'd let shame and fear make her small. When she was empty, when she had no tears left, she wiped her face with her sleeve and looked at the river. The light had changed, gone from golden to grey-blue with approaching evening. The crow called again, closer now, perched on the new metal guardrail. She picked up the velvet pouch and opened it. Inside, a necklace, a simple silver chain with a pendant shaped like a compass rose, and a note, folded small. She unfolded it. This was my mother's. She wore it every day of her life until Alzheimer's took even the memory of what it meant. But I remember. It means wherever you go, you can find your way home. It means you are not lost. I thought you should have it. Sarah fastened the necklace around her throat. The pendant rested cold against her collarbone, then warmed. She gathered the letters, the photograph, the flash drive, the box, and walked back to her car. The lawyer's office would be closing soon, but she thought they'd wait for her. Margaret had seen to that. Margaret, who'd understood that sometimes people need to fall apart before they can come back together. Who'd left her not just an inheritance, but a choice. Sarah drove into Miller's Bend as the streetlights flickered on. The town looked smaller than she remembered, shabbier, but also familiar. Real. A place where things could be lost and sometimes found again. The lawyer's office was in a converted Victorian on Main Street. The receptionist was putting on her coat, but smiled when Sarah introduced herself. Miss Winters, we've been expecting you. Mr. Halloway will see you right away. Thomas Halloway was in his 60s, with kind eyes and the careful manner of someone who'd spent a lifetime delivering difficult news. He shook Sarah's hand and gestured to a chair. Thank you for coming. I know this must be strange for you. Strange doesn't begin to cover it, Sarah said. She set the cedar box on his desk. I found this, at the bridge. Holloway's eyebrows rose. Ah, she told me about that box. Said if you found it, it meant you were ready to hear the rest. He pulled a thick folder from his desk drawer. Margaret Chen revised her will 3 weeks before she died. She left very specific instructions. The non-profit Cold Water Care Alliance is to be transferred to you, along with the associated endowment, which currently stands at just over $2 million. Her house on River Road, paid in full, also goes to you, and there's a letter to be given to you only in person. He handed her an envelope, her name on the front, Margaret's handwriting. Sarah's hands shook as she opened it. Dear Sarah, if Thomas is giving you this, you've watched the video, you know what I'm asking. I've wrestled with whether I have the right to ask it, whether it's fair to hand you my unfinished work and call it a gift. But I think you understand better than most that meaningful work is never finished. It's only ever passed on. The truth is, I'm not asking you to save the organization. I'm asking you to save yourself. I spent 15 years building something I hoped would matter, and I lost my daughter in the process. You spent 2 years helping me build it, and you lost your faith in people. We both made mistakes. We both paid for them. But here's what I learned too late. Redemption isn't something you earn. It's something you accept. It's the choice to believe that what happened doesn't define what happens next. You didn't steal from me, Sarah. You gave me everything, your time, your heart, your extraordinary mind, and I'm giving you the chance to decide who you want to be now. If you take this on, it will be hard. The board will have questions. The community will have doubts. You'll have moments when you want to run again. But you'll also have the chance to help people who need you, to build something that lasts, to prove to yourself more than anyone that you are exactly as good as I always knew you were. And if you walk away, I understand that too. Take the money, sell the house, build a different life. You've earned it. Just promise me one thing, don't hide anymore. Don't make yourself small because someone once made you feel worthless. You are not worthless. You never were. With love and hope, Margaret P.S. There's someone I think you should meet. Her name is Lily Chen Morrison. She's my daughter, and she's been running a community health clinic in Riverside for the past 5 years. She doesn't know about the will yet. She doesn't know about you. But I think you two have more in common than you realize. If you're willing, Thomas has her contact information. No pressure, just possibility. Sarah read the letter twice, then looked up at Holloway. Did you know Margaret well? 23 years, he said quietly. She was one of the most remarkable people I've ever met. Also one of the most stubborn. When she made up her mind about something or someone, nothing could shake her. She made up her mind about me, Sarah said, and I ran. She understood why you ran. She never blamed you. Holloway leaned forward. Ms. Winters, I've been executing wills for 30 years. I've seen people fight over money, reject legacies out of spite, squander fortunes out of grief. But I've also seen occasionally something else. Someone stepping into a role they didn't know they were ready for, becoming who they were meant to be. Sarah looked down at the letter in her hands, at Margaret's careful script. She thought about Portland, about her plants and her inventory spreadsheets and her safe, small life. Then she thought about the video, Margaret's voice saying, "You are the daughter I stopped deserving." About the necklace warming against her skin, about the work, unglamorous, exhausting, necessary, of showing up for people everyone else forgot. "Tell me about the organization," she said. "Tell me what I'd be walking into." Holloway smiled. "How much time do you have?" They talked for 2 hours. The Cold Water Care Alliance had 3 full-time staff members and a dozen volunteers. They coordinated in-home care for 46 clients across 3 counties, helped families navigate Medicare and Medicaid, provided respite care for exhausted caregivers. The finances were sound. Marcus had stolen from the general fund, but the endowment had been protected, and donations had actually increased since Margaret's death, a community rallying around her memory. The board was ready to step aside if Sarah wanted to bring in new leadership. They were just waiting for direction. "What about Lily?" Sarah asked. "Does she know her mother left her nothing?" "Margaret left Lily a letter too," Holloway said carefully. "And a trust fund for Lily's son, structured for education expenses. But you're right. The bulk of the estate goes to you. I suspect that will be complicated." "She didn't want the work," Sarah said, understanding. "That's what the letters said. She wanted her mother to choose her. And Margaret wanted Lily to be free to make her own choices," Holloway said, "even if it meant they never reconciled." Sarah stood, walked to the window. Outside, Miller's Bend was settling into evening. Lights in windows, people heading home from work, an ordinary town where ordinary people needed help she could give. She touched the compass pendant. "I need some time," she said. "Can I give you an answer in 48 hours? "Of course." Holloway stood as well. "But Ms. Winters, Sarah, whatever you decide, I think you should know something. Margaret called me the day before she died. She said she'd confronted Marcus, that the truth would come out soon, that you'd be vindicated. She was relieved, happy even. The accident." He paused, choosing words carefully. "It was raining. She was distracted. But she wasn't running away. She was on her way to find you." Sarah's breath hitched. "To find me?" "She'd tracked you down in Portland, had your address, your phone number. She was going to come to you, apologize in person, tell you what she's telling you now in that letter. But she wanted to deal with Marcus first, make sure you were fully cleared. She wanted to come to you with clean hands." She swerved for a deer. The officer who investigated said her phone was in her lap. She'd been calling someone. The call didn't connect. You'd changed your number, but she'd been trying. She'd been trying to reach you when it happened. Sarah closed her eyes. Another piece of the story, another angle of light cast on the past. Margaret hadn't died in despair. She died trying to fix things, and now Sarah was here, 7 years later, being handed the tools to finish what Margaret started. 48 hours, she said again. That night, Sarah checked into the Coldwater Inn, the only hotel in Miller's Bend. Her room smelled like lavender and old wood, the bed soft, the window overlooking the river. She couldn't sleep. She lay in the dark and thought about choices, about chances, about the way lives unspooled in directions you never planned. At 2 a.m, she gave up on sleep and opened her laptop. She found Lily Chen Morrison easily. There was a whole website for the Riverside Community Health Clinic with Lily's photo on the About page. She looked like Margaret. The same determined set to her jaw, the same warmth in her eyes. The site described her background: medical degree from OHSU, a residency in family medicine, then 3 years with Doctors Without Borders before returning to Oregon to open the clinic. Someone who'd chosen the same work as her mother in her own way. Sarah drafted an email 3 times and deleted it twice. The final version was simple. Ms. Chen Morrison, my name is Sarah Winters. I worked with your mother at Coldwater Care Alliance 7 years ago. I recently learned of her passing and the provisions in her will. I'd like to speak with you if you're willing. Not about the inheritance. That's between you and your own feelings about your mother. But about her, and about what she built, and about what comes next. If you're not interested, I understand. But I thought you should hear from me directly. Sarah, she sent it before she could overthink it further, then closed the laptop and stared at the ceiling. The response came 6 hours later, while Sarah was having coffee in the inn's small dining room. Her phone chimed. She opened the email, heart pounding. Sarah, I've been expecting to hear from someone. My mother's lawyer contacted me last week about the will. I'll be honest, my first reaction was anger. Of course she left everything to the work. Of course she left it to someone who understood what she couldn't let go of, but I've been thinking about it, about her, about us. I have questions I never got to ask, regrets I can't fix. Maybe you do too. I'm in Miller's Bend today, actually, settling some final estate details. If you're free this afternoon, there's a coffee shop on River Road, Moira's. 3 p.m.? Lily Sarah arrived at Moira's 10 minutes early, nervous in a way she hadn't been in years. The coffee shop was small, warm, smelling of cinnamon and espresso. She ordered tea she didn't drink and sat by the window. Lily arrived exactly on time. She was taller than Sarah expected, dressed in jeans and a green sweater, her hair pulled back in a ponytail. She scanned the room, and when her eyes found Sarah, she smiled, tentative but real. "Sarah?" Sarah stood. "Lily, thank you for meeting me." They sat. For a moment, neither spoke. Then Lily laughed, a little helpless. "I don't even know where to start." "Me neither." Sarah wrapped her hands around her mug. "I'm sorry about your mother. I know that's inadequate, but—" "Were you there?" Lily interrupted. "When it happened? I was on the bridge. I saw the aftermath. But I didn't know she was trying to call me." Lily nodded slowly. "The lawyer told me. About Marcus, about what happened to you. I'm sorry. That must have been awful." "It was. But your mother cleared my name. Even after—" Sarah stopped, regrouped. "She believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." "That was her specialty," Lily said quietly. "Believing in people. Except she didn't know how to believe in relationships. Or maybe she believed too much, thought they'd survive anything as long as the work was meaningful." She looked out the window. "I was 17 when I told her I hated her. It was after my grandmother's funeral. All I wanted was for her to be sad with me, to stay home, to be my mum. But she went back to the office. She had a grant deadline. She said Grandma would have understood, and I just broke. I said terrible things. Then I left for college and barely spoke to her for 15 years. She wrote you letters," Sarah said. "I found them at the bridge." Lily's eyes widened. "What?" Sarah told her about the cedar box, the letters, the photograph. "I brought them with me, if you want them." Lily's voice cracked. "Yes. God, yes." Sarah pulled the bundle from her bag and handed it over. Lily held them like they might dissolve, her fingers trembling. She untied the twine and read the first letter right there, tears streaming down her face. "She saw you," Sarah said gently. "At the farmer's market, with your son. She was so proud." Lily wiped her eyes. "I saw her too. I pretended I didn't, but I saw her. I thought about going over. I thought about it every day after. And then she was gone." She looked up at Sarah. "Do you know what the worst part is? I became her. I opened a clinic because I wanted to prove I could do the work without losing myself. But I'm there 60 hours a week. My son asks why I'm always tired. My husband plans date nights I have to cancel. And I don't know how to stop. Because the work matters, it does matter." "Your mother knew that," Sarah said. "She knew you understood." "Then why didn't she leave it to me?" The question was raw, not accusing. "Why you?" Sarah considered this. "I think because she wanted you to be free, because she knew you'd already sacrificed enough, and because—" She paused. "Because I needed it. I needed to know I wasn't defined by the worst thing anyone ever believed about me. I needed to know I could be trusted with something that mattered." Lily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "What are you going to do?" "I don't know yet," Sarah admitted. "Part of me wants to run back to Portland and pretend none of this happened. But I keep thinking about the people your mother helped, about how much they needed her, and how much they still need someone." "They do," Lily said. "I've been fielding calls from clients who don't know what's going to happen, from staff who are worried about their jobs. The board's been keeping things running, but they need leadership. They need someone who cares." "Did you want it?" Sarah asked. "The organization?" "No," Lily said it firmly. "I have my own work, and if I took it on, I'd be doing it for the wrong reasons. Guilt, obligation, trying to be close to a ghost. But I want it to survive. I want what she built to mean something." "So do I," Sarah said, and in saying it, knew it was true. They talked until the coffee shop closed, until the owner gently reminded them she needed to lock up. They walked together to Margaret's house on River Road, a pale yellow bungalow with a wide porch and a garden gone wild. Lily had the key. Inside, everything was as Margaret had left it. Books double-stacked on shelves, framed photos of clients and staff, a desk covered in notes and files. It smelled like Margaret's perfume, something floral and subtle. "This is yours now," Lily said, looking around. "How does that feel?" "Overwhelming, humbling." Sarah touched the spine of a book on the desk, the courage to be disliked. "But also right somehow, like I'm supposed to be here." Lily turned to her. "Can I ask you something?" "Of course. When you were working with her, did she seem happy?" Sarah thought about this carefully. "She seemed purposeful. She seemed like someone who'd found the thing she was supposed to do, even if it cost her. But yes, in the moments when we were helping someone, when we solved a problem or got someone the care they needed, she glowed. She was happy." Lily nodded, tears on her face again. "I'm glad. I'm glad she had that. And I'm glad she had you." "I'm glad she had you too," Sarah said, "even when you were apart. She carried you with her. Every letter, every decision, she was thinking about you." "Maybe that's enough," Lily whispered. "Maybe that has to be enough." They stood together in Margaret's living room, two women connected by a ghost, by grief, by the strange alchemy of loss and inheritance. And then Lily said, "I'd like to help. Not run the organization, but I can consult on the healthcare side, make referrals from my clinic, maybe serve on the board if you'll have me. I can't be my mother, but maybe I can be part of what she started." "I'd like that," Sarah said. "I'd like that a lot." The next day, Sarah drove back to the lawyer's office and told Thomas Halloway her decision. She would accept the inheritance. She would lead Coldwater Care Alliance. She would move back to Miller's Bend and into Margaret's house and do the work of showing up every day for people who needed someone to care. It wouldn't be easy. There would be moments of doubt, crisis, exhaustion, but there would also be moments of grace. The thank you from a family whose mother could finally die at home, the relief in an overwhelmed caregiver's eyes, the slow building of something meaningful. And Sarah would have help. Lily, the staff, the community. She wouldn't be alone. Before she left the lawyer's office, she asked Halloway one last question. Did Margaret know? At the end, did she know she'd made a difference? He smiled. She knew. In one of our last conversations, she told me the work felt endless, that there was always more need than resources. But then she said something I've never forgotten. She said, "But that's the point, isn't it? You don't do this work because you can fix everything. You do it because right now, today, you can help someone. And tomorrow you get up and you help someone else. And eventually, if enough people do that, the world becomes a little bit gentler." That's what she believed. That's what she lived. Sarah drove back to the bridge one more time before heading to Portland to pack up her life. She stood on the iron span, the river below, the October light turning the trees to flame. She touched the compass pendant at her throat. "I'll do my best," she said aloud to Margaret, to herself, to the water and the wind. "I'll show up, I promise." A breeze lifted her hair, warm despite the season. Downstream, a heron rose from the shallows, wings spreading wide. Sarah watched it fly until it disappeared around the bend, then walked back to her car. She had work to do.